Yo, what's up? Back again, back in the saddle again. We are here rocking, rolling, different time of day, roughly, from when we're normally in the booth and stuff, but we're rocking and rolling, having a good time. Thought we would bust out one of those top three, bottom three rankings to tie into a bit of a funny conversation and quandary was presented to me. Something that a buddy of mine threw out there. Said, hey, chew on this. How would you answer this question? Threw out a puzzler about the hamburger helper glove. So we'll peel that back when we get to it. But like I said, figured we kind of blend it all in there with a little bit of a top three, bottom three ranking. And what better than something that everybody has experienced at some point in their life, and that's going to school. Everybody's gone to school, and there's a good chance, I'd be willing to bet at some point you enjoyed or did not enjoy, but you indulged in a school lunch. And I know the menu at my schools growing up would vary. We had like a set menu. They'd give you the calendar for the month, and you could see what meals would be prepared: breakfast, lunch, and there's the two meals of the day at school. And then at high school and middle school, because they had the junior, senior high built into the one, they had the a la carte section and line where you could indulge in the off menu everyday items, the snacks, more or less. They'd have pepperoni pizza every day, they'd have Bosco sticks every day, they had big giant the soft pretzels. I don't know why I can think of those, the soft pretzels. So various snacks like that. But again, you have your classic hot meal lunch line that you could always dip into, and that was the set menu. I'm a bit of a picky eater, so when we're riding down the highway, I tend to get off a couple exits earlier than most, and we'll kind of learn more about the foods I do and do not like. We're gonna start out with the top three, a little less controversial with the top three. So like I said, we'll round it out. Number three, popcorn chicken. I mean, you could have gone with the chicken nuggets too. I mean, honestly, it's little bites of chicken. I'm a classic ketchup guy. I don't need anything else. I don't like barbecue. It's a little too tangy for me, at least the barbecue I had when I was growing up. So not for me. You don't enjoy honey mustard too much. A little too sweet with the honey. I guess maybe if you have a little bit more tart from the mustard, I wouldn't mind. Like, I don't know, maybe probably like a more 60-40 or 35-65 split with the honey mustard. Probably you'd have to experiment with it, but either way, popcorn chicken, I mean, if I need to, I'll eat them raw, I'll eat them dry and just pop them in. They're not that bad. It's just little bites of chicken. You can't really go wrong with that. You can't really like overcook them or anything like that either. You might get a little crispier, but overall, like, it's hard to fuck up. Next up, keeping it in the same vein, adding a little bit more to it, a little bit more filling, you have the chicken patty sandwich. Now, not only do you get the, obviously the protein from the chicken in this, but you're also going to expand that out, add the carbs from the bun, a little bit more filling. Like I said, again, just ketchup on there, if I have to. What's really cool, spice it up, you get the spicy chicken patty, add a little heat in there. If you do like the spice, make you sweat a little. But even if you don't have that, take a little bit of a salt, a little bit of pepper, throw that on the bun, and if you're able to toast it, or even if you're not, and then I just kind of, like I said, mix it up, add a little spice, add a little flavor to that chicken patty. Easy way to mix up a very plain meal. But then number one, and I don't think this is deniable in any fashion, when you're a kid, nothing beat pizza day. If obviously, like, once you got to the a la carte line in middle school and high school, you could get pizza every day. But when it was once a week or once a month, depending on how, like, what kind of school you went to, I would say that pizza day is unequivocally the number one hot meal lunch item in school. And I'm not sure how much that might have changed when, because I experienced like a huge drop off. It was like my equivalent to like that Black Monday or like Black Tuesday in like 1929 with the stock market collapsing. Like that was my elementary school experience in 2008, post 2008, when Michelle Obama Michelle Obama like essentially like flew the food planes into our World Trade Center cafeterias. Essentially, like that's the comparison you could make. What she did to us kids, we're standing there at the north and south tower in line, patiently waiting for our delicious, albeit unhealthy, but still good. Like, not that it's not like we look any healthier now, And then Michelle Obama, like a fucking hijacked plane, all of a sudden just crashed right into us, kamikaze style. We were like a couple of warships sitting in Pearl Harbor. We weren't doing nothing. All of a sudden, like a Japanese fighter pilot, Michelle Obama just comes and kamikazes our school lunch menu. Absolute horseshit. I'm sorry to anyone who had to suffer with the less than meals, post 2008. Feel like a good wrap up on the school lunches, at least the good. We're starting to get a little unraveled right there. But now let's dip into the bad. Like I said, the bottom three. Now this is personal. This isn't like what I think. This is essentially entirely what I think, and I am never wrong when I'm hanging out in the lounge. This is just my space, and there's 5, 6, 7 of us who maybe like check this out. So who cares? It's not like it's such a big deal. Bottom three, Bosco sticks. These things, they're just cheese sticks with or cheese stuffed breadsticks. They're not that good, and I don't know why people loved them. Obviously it's just bread and cheese, and I don't like cheese. Cheese is not for me. Although you might be asking what about pizza? It was just number one on your ranking list. I think that's the exception to the rule, because I don't think this is arguable as well. When you bite into a piece of pizza, the introduction of the food to your tongue is an immediate introduction of the crust, the bread, which has like a bland, bland taste, unless you have some type of garlic or something like that. I think Domino's, the way they roll it in the garlic for those pizza doughs. However, other than that, the bite, as you compress it, if it's sauced properly, the sauce is a very powerful flavor. It does a good job of masking the cheese, and mozzarella is a very light flavor as well. And also, if you're ordering this pizza yourself, you can also customize it, order light mozzarella, or if there's too much on there visually, as you look at it, you can always just take a little bit off. There's nothing stopping you from there. So there's ways to get around the whole pizza thing. So hold the horses on that. Bosco sticks, though, highly overrated. I think the bang for your buck, and then overall the caloric value, I think I don't know, they're just they're not for me. And when I was working at the cabin in Mount Pleasant, which I've talked about before, we would have very popular item, cabin sticks. We literally just ordered Bosco sticks from Sam's Club, and they would come. We would put 5 of them into the oven, and then cut them up in 4, cut it in half, and then you cut those 2 halves in half, and then you have 20 little bite-sized pieces you could dip into your marinara or your ranch, and boom, you have little cabin sticks, and people would go nuts for them. They're just literally Bosco sticks chopped up with a little bit of parm drizzled on top. So, again, not my thing. I don't it's just the cheese thing too. I understand it's the same thing, as what's on the pizza, but there's no sauce, and that's kind of what is doing it for me. That's kind of what makes it tolerable in that sense. So, keeping it in line with the Bosco sticks, another cheese-based item, quesadilla. It's just a tortilla and cheese, and again, it's the Mexican version of a grilled cheese, and it's just not for me. Can't do it. Don't like cheese. Mexican cheese, I don't know what they use. Cheddar, I don't know. It's more yellow. It's seems sharper. It seems to have a stronger smell too. Kind of hits you harder. So again, there's everything about cheese that I don't like, and that is a quesadilla. Even if even if they throw chicken in there, throw protein, I can't do it. Anytime you introduce cheese into something that is not pizza, I'm out. I can't do it. And I know like if there's like ever someone trying to like tease or entice me like during a like maybe like a diet or I don't know, maybe just like a time when I can't eat or something. I don't know. I'm just thinking back to the one time I participated in Ramadan just to challenge that myself for that experience, and the sponsored like meal ads that would come up anytime they introduced cheese to it. I didn't matter how good it was beforehand. I was immediately like, all right, I'm out, like a fucking Shark Tank. Like, all right, I'm out. So the quesadilla again, not it. So, two cheese based items for number two, number three on the bottom three. We're gonna mix it up. No cheese in this last item, but again, I would argue as much of a staple as the pizza day. Not only was it the pizza day you get maybe once a week, but almost guaranteed every time they had these in a box in the back, the Uncrustable. Good old PB&J with the crust cut off. I don't like peanut butter. It's just not for me. I don't mind peanuts. I don't mind cashews. I don't mind pistachios. Almonds are okay. I prefer them chocolate covered, and I really only enjoy pecans, as the main nut in a turtle sundae. However, peanut butter just I don't like. Something about the smell of it. Something about like the creaminess and like the oiliness of it. I can't do it. I don't like it. I've had it multiple times. I've tried it on purpose, accidentally. I noticed the smell. I noticed the taste, and I just can't get it down. It's not for me. It's very protein packed, and I've talked about before when like the guys have gone camping and stuff like that. I just don't like it, which kind of sucks because it'd be a great way to get some calories and get some energy in you. But maybe I'll just have to tough it up and just like suck down a spoonful, like just like when you were sick as a kid and you're like you had to do a couple spoonfuls of medicine, just a couple spoonfuls of peanut butter, wash it down with whatever you got to drink, or if you got another snack, throw down, eat it afterwards. So I don't know. That's something maybe I got to get over. But again, the top three, bottom three, first off, that we're trying it out here in the lounge, and again, kind of trying to tie it in to this separate discussion. Somebody brought this to my attention. I don't know where they got it from, and I'm gonna keep them anonymous. I have mentioned them before, but I don't want to out them, for just to the small audience that we have. The question of the Hamburger Helper glove. If you're not familiar with this mascot, it's Hamburger Helper. It's got a mascot. It's a glove, like Stovetop maybe is what's the company or whatever. But either way, it's a palm. You know what I mean? Think like a mitt, and in the palm of it has a face. Like a mouth, eyes. I don't think it has a nose, but it talks, it bounces around and stuff like that. But it also, like, at the base where it, like, bounces around, it's like an open glove. So you see, like, there's, like, what would be, like, empty space or, like, a hollow, middle or whatever. The question at hand would then be, because if it's like a real glove, but it's sentient. It's alive. They asked, how would you fuck the Hamburger Helper glove? Would you go in from the bottom like the way your hand puts on a glove, or would you use the mouth and the palm? And how deep does it go? Because like again, like it's a glove. It is a glove, and I think this is honestly. This might be time for a little bit of a blinker, because this is a little blinker and thinker action, man, right now. So, all right, we're about to activate dragon mode right now, as the smoke's gonna slowly pour out of my mouth. There's an expression that goes, how are we going to fuck this pig? I don't want to use that when talking about the Hamburger Helper glove. However, I think it fits perfectly. I think it's a hilarious question. And valid, too. Now, I'm not gonna fuck this glove, but but I think it's a fucking hilarious thing to think about. And again, there's two different options. You have, like I said, a mouth, and then you have like the glove hole, and I guess it'd be dealer's choice. It's fucking wide as hell, and like it fits a hand. However, the mouth, like again, like it seems to have teeth too. So I don't know. Again, sorry, men, for bringing this up. I didn't really know how to elaborate on it more too much, but when the question was presented to me, I knew it was something I had to share with the lounge, and just bring into the lounge, talk about, and kind of just laugh a little bit about, because again, like, this is kind of a relaxed place. Coming in here to chill out and have a good time. Let's try something else new today. A little bit of a fun thing. Little blinkers and thinkers. I'm gonna activate dragon mode. See the smoke coming out, and just kind of ponder on some queries, some quandaries, some questions, to that I have tried to answer myself, that I kind of think about. So let's like I said, let's start the light show. So, if you're born deaf, when do you start to hear an internal monologue? If that makes sense. Obviously, when I think in my own head, I think in the English language, because that's the language I was taught to speak. However, I have no memory of thought, essentially, prior to my concept of knowledge. Or very little, I should say. Does somebody who is born deaf, who never gets to audibly hear what language sounds like, does it take them longer to learn, or are they able to visually pick up on phonetics through the phonetic pronunciations of words, or does the pronunciation not necessarily matter as much because everything's so visual focused as opposed to auditory? And then what would that sound like? What do they what would anything sound like? Would that, in their head, I imagine someone who is born blind could picture an object. And if you were deaf and you lost your hearing at some point in life, you have an idea of what something sounded like prior. You have previous knowledge, prior experience to base it off of. Somebody who has none of that, what is it that they base that on, and how do they get to develop that voice in their head, so to speak? Does it ever happen, or is it a little bit different? Could it necessarily speak in a different language if they focused on learning multiple languages visually? Could there be a different language that they kind of focused on outside, that they kind of focused on as a primary language? I don't know. I think it's a fascinating question, though. If you're born deaf, how and when do those skills and abilities develop? Flip it over. Two sides of the same coin. Someone who's born blind, when or do they ever conceptualize a visual representation of any object at all? Do they ever perceive what color could be at all? There's no reference to go off of. So what is it that would allow somebody to develop that ability. 'Cause if you could describe something a million times in a million different ways to somebody, picture's worth 1,000 words. But again, how would you describe something to somebody who has like no visual reference or perspective to relate to? Like it seems almost impossible, and it's something somebody who has never experienced that will never experience. It's one of those like unknowns in life for both parties. You know, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like it was, you know, Pandora never opening the box. You know, you're never gonna know what's inside. You know, for most people, and like gratefully so, like they do get to experience sight, they do get to experience sound. But for those who have a different life experience with, you know, like audio impairment, visual impairment, what is that like? And then if you were to talk to two people, or you paneled, you had like survey says, you know, Family Feud style, we asked 100 people, you know, and they were all born blind or all born deaf, and you gave them the same panel of questions asking them to describe what this, how similar would some of these answers be, or would there not be at all? Would everything be just completely, you know, individual based, and this unique creation of imagination and personal interpretation, like, in, you know, individual intellect that like someone has been able to craft and cultivate, that they understand like their own version of language? Or would there be would there be like commonalities between people who speak the same language? Maybe you asked like 25 people who, you know, were from an English speaking country, 25 people were from a German speaking country, 25 people from an Asian speaking country, and 25 people from a Spanish speaking country. And then you pulled those, and then you researched what the groups, you know, in each demographic answered, and then compared that to what the answers of, you know, cross comparing, you know, Venn diagram style of these different groups. I just think, again, something that we'll never get to understand, but I think it's almost like a piece of gum you can kind of just throw in your mouth, chew on, and, you know, have some fun thinking about the idea, because there is no right answer, there is no wrong answer. I mean, I think, like, at least until you get to experience or, like, you know, a conversation and with somebody who could explain their perspective, you know, of, you know, a life in, you know, living that experience more or less. So again, just ripped a blinker and had a bit of a thinker on my mind. Just something didn't quite know how to answer. And like I said, just a fun little question to kind of ponder and think about. So, you know, I want to tie back into the top three, bottom three lunch discussion that we were talking about. I was at a work meeting earlier today, and they had a nice spread. You know, it's cool that they kind of provide some food for us during the meeting and such. And I just couldn't help but thinking of, I think, a charcuterie board, and the comparison of charcuterie to a Lunchable, like the ham Lunchable, the turkey Lunchable. Like, it's just like a larger scale version of that. It's like the adult, you know, grown up version. Yeah, some different meats and different cheeses and stuff on there, and like maybe some different types of crackers, some fancier options up there. But essentially, you know, take away the Butterfinger, take away the, you know, Nestle Crunch Bar that you used to get as a little piece of candy in your Lunchable, and a charcuterie board. I mean, you're just getting like a veggie style tray serving size of an adult Lunchable. So, you know, maybe you're looking for a nice snack for lunch at work. You want to grab a Lunchable. You're a little bit intimidated, don't want to go to the checkout stand. and have a couple Lunchables in your hand. You know, maybe even the self checkout. You don't want them to see you stand in line with the Lunchables. I mean, who gives a fuck? You know, enjoy what you want to eat. But either way, like I said, just go get yourself a big charcuterie board, make your own, like and then go to the kitchen section, get yourself a nice piece of Tupperware, a little divider one. You can like reuse and wash, and then just divvy it up. Get a set of them, and then you know, have like your Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever, and make your own little charcuterie Lunchables to pack into work with. You control your serving sizes and whatnot. I mean, why the fuck not? I don't think there's any reason why an adult can't enjoy some. I mean, what's wrong with eating chicken nuggets? Boneless wings are chicken nuggets, and you're just putting fancier sauces on them and stuff like that. When you get older, if you start to like stuff like that, I still go plain Jane's and dip them in ketchup with my boneless wings. I am a child who doesn't like cheese, and a child who doesn't like peanut butter. When it comes to food, like I said, man, gonna get off the highway within like right after we got on one exit, we got to turn the car right back around. We forgot something at home. Like, you guys are going on this trip without me pretty much. Now hopefully I'll start making the trip, get a couple more exits before I realize, oh shit, forgot something, got to turn back. But for now, we're still rocking with the training wheels through the food situations. But yeah, speaking of food, probably wrap it up there, head home, make myself something to eat, throw on the game. Had the internet down earlier at the apartment, so fingers crossed Xfinity's got it fixed. But if not, oh well, we'll figure it out. Got a book to read, so thanks for tapping in. We'll see you alligators later.